This is worksheet 6.5, warm-up and prerequisites. There will be another assignment that's just plain old worksheet 6.5, but in order to do that, we need to be able to do this. So this is a review of things that we've seen mostly in November, so it's been a little while. So just to make sure we know how to graph a line in slope-intercept form, if we don't, this will be frustrating. So remember that these equations, most of them will be in slope-intercept form. So you begin at the y-intercept. That is the value that's being added to the x. And then m, the number being multiplied with x, is your slope, which is the top number is your rise, and the bottom number is your run. Now that bottom number is always positive, so that means a movement to the right. So I'm going to go to example number 2, actually, which, well, it looks smaller or less complicated perhaps than number 1. More people have struggle with number 2. So your y-intercept is -1. So that goes right here. So you begin at -1 on the y-axis. And now how do you move from that y-intercept? Well, you have to move what the slope is, and the slope is -1. So slope is rise over run. So the top number is that -1. Since there's no fraction, you have to make it into a fraction by dividing by 1. So the rise is -1. Since it's negative, it means I'm moving down, and the run is a +1, so I'm moving to the right. And as I do that from the y-intercept, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, it starts to create the line. Now you can make points going the other direction then, so you have to reverse the rise, and you have to reverse the run. So from the y-intercept I go up 1, left 1. Notice how these red points are in line with the blue points. This line, when I zing it together here, is a line that has a slope of -1. Whoa. Not the straightest line ever, but good enough. Remember, a negative slope goes down and to the right, and a positive slope goes up and to the right. So that slope sign should match the direction of the slope. This is going down and to the right. It's a negative slope, and that was definitely a negative slope in the equation. So let's try that. I'm going to do number 3. So the y-intercept is -4. So boom, that's right here. From here, my slope is -4/5. This negative sign out in front could also go on top. And when I put it on top, it helps me see the directions I need to move. So I'm going down 4 and right 5. Or you could realize it's a negative slope, so it needs to be going something like this, in this direction, down to the right. So from here, down 4, right 5. Oh man, it doesn't fit on the graph. I'm still going to put a dot there, so that down 4 would be around here. Move right 5. It's somewhere around there. But now I can reverse the rise and the run, go up 4, but then left 5, up 4, left 5. That gives me another point on the line. Again, the slope is -4/5, so it should be moving down and to the right, and that's what I got for a line here. I'm going to do number 4 with you. This one's weird, because slope-intercept form looks like this. Y is by itself. This one doesn't even have a y in it, nor is the y by itself. So this says x equals 2, or x is 2. If you get stuck, you can always make a table. An xy table. Well, so the rule is that x is 2. No matter what y is, it doesn't even mention y. Y could be 100, and x is 2. Or to pick a different number, x is 2. Y could be 1. X is 2. Y could be 0. X is 2. Y could be -1. And if I plot these 3 points right here, the last 3 points, because I'm not going to put y equals 100 on this graph, 2, 1 is right here. 2 zeros right there. 2 -1s right there. If x equals 2, any point on this line that I'm drawing right now has an x value of 2. So that's what the line looks like. Remember, if it's If it's x equals, we think of the word bucks, it's a vertical line with an undefined slope. If it's y equals just some old plain old number, that means it's a horizontal line. We use the word hoy. It's a horizontal line. The slope is 0. Next idea, write the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line or calculate the x and y intercepts. I'm going to encourage you to solve for y. Most students prefer to use that method, and I think it'll work better here. But if you are very good at getting the x and y intercepts and you want to do that, and you could, it's just there is a hiccup that can happen. So I'm solving for y. Y is getting multiplied by -5. We're also adding 2x to it. So we're subtracting 2x first. We get -5y equals, remember we can't combine like terms here, so we get -2x minus 20. Then we divide by -5 to get y by itself, which means it's then in slope-intercept form, and it's easy to graph then. So we get y equals 2/5 x, the negative on the top and the bottom cancel out, and then -20 divided by -5 is +4. Boom. Maybe I'll do number 7 as well. So x is getting multiplied by -1. We can only slip a 1 here, and there's a minus sign, so I'm going to add the opposite. So to the y, it's getting multiplied by -1, and we are adding 2x. To undo adding 2x, we subtract 2x. So we get -1y equals -2x minus 4. So then we undo multiplying by -1 by dividing by -1. So we get y equals 2x plus 4. Boom. Last idea, putting it all together. We are going to now graph the line by putting it in slope-intercept form or getting the x and y intercepts. Either way, the line, like there is one correct line, one correct visual for what this equation gives, or the solution set for this equation. So if you choose to get the x and y intercepts, you should find that they match what I have for x and y intercepts here as I put it into slope-intercept form. So I'm subtracting 4x. Boom. Then I do that to this side, so I get 6y equals. Now I'm going to put the -4x first, because slope-intercept form has the slope first. The 24 is positive, so plus 24. Now, divide by 6. So we get y equals, now I'm going to simplify this fraction. -4/6 is the same as -2/3. And make sure you bring the x down with it. And then 24 divided by 6 is 4. So recall what slope-intercept form looked like. 4 is my y-intercept. And my slope is -2/3. So I'm going to go down 2 and right 3. Down 2, right 3, down 2, right 3. Now I can reverse it and go up to left 3. Notice this is making a negatively sloped line, so that's good. It matches the fact that the slope is negative. Buzz your line. Now, if you were getting the intercepts, instead, 4 times 6 is 24. The x-intercept is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. The y-intercept is 24. Now, as I talk through that, if that made sense to you, yeah, in that case, getting the intercepts was quicker. But if the x-intercept was a fraction, which can happen, I don't cook it up that often, but it does, and it will happen more often in your math career. If it's a fraction, that's where getting it in slope-intercept form is better, because you'll be able to accurately graph that line. Let's see, which next one should I do? I'm going to do number 12. So y, again, is we can slip a 1 right here. By the way, on number 11, you could slip a 1 right there. So you'd subtract 1x to start it out with. But To start this back with the process, we're trying to get y by itself, so we think about what's being done to y. Y is being multiplied by -1. And if I were to add the opposite here, it helps us see that y is also being added to by -2x. So we undo the adding first, so we add a positive 2x. So we get -1y equals 2x plus 6. Divide by -1 now to get y by itself. So we get y equals, simplifying this fraction, simplifies to -2x. And this simplifies to -6. So my y-intercept is -6. And then the slope is -2. Down 2, right 1. Oops, let me put that as a fraction. So the rise is -2, so we're going down 2. The run is +1, we're going right 1. And now we can reverse it by going opposite, so up 2 and left 1. This is a negatively sloped line. The slope is -2, and it's moving in a negative direction down and to the right. So, if I'm going to clean this up right here. If you were getting the intercepts, the x-intercept, what times -2 is 6, it would be -3, right? -2 times -3 is +6, and that's what I got for an x-intercept. If we plug in 0 for x and solve for y, -1 times what is 6? I'm going to write that down. -1, because I can put a 1 right there. -1 times what is 6? -1 times -6 is 6. So the y-intercept is -6, which is what we discovered solving for y.